So the reason for the long wait is I recorded it twice. So the first one from last year, May 17th, I think it was, of 2024, and I made one in March. I have the recording, but now when I look back to look for it, it's gone. I looked on my MacBook, I looked on my gaming laptop, I looked on my SanDisk, my SD card. It's not there. And I've been looking for the past 5 minutes and I couldn't find it. So that's basically the premise why I haven't been posting this. So I gotta redo this again. And I know where to stop now. I have to stop before, well, I can't say it because it's spoilers, but finally, the trees parted ways. We were on the beach. With the forest now long behind us, the undisturbed sand entangled itself beneath our toes and the smell of sea salty water hit our noses. Before us, a vast sea stretching beyond the horizon. The azure water shone with the glare of a star shining in the sky, and the waves lapped lazy at the shore. I looked around in admiration, admiring the scenery, but before I could say anything, Juno's locator flashed and beeped, indicating that we were getting closer. Is it here? Okay, I completely... God, my memory of this game or this novel is kind of iffy. The main premise is this indicator's virus destroying planets is a person who's doing this, blah blah blah, we're here to destroy it and to prevent it. That's all I know. I think that's the main premise of this game. Yeah, right over there. Juno pointed to the right. We went further along the shore and soon saw a strange device sticking out of the sand. It looked like a tower of sorts. It stuck out starkly against the scenery. It was nothing like the local flora and fauna. We didn't go any closer, as the sand around the device was strewn with the corpses of animals that had inhabited this beach. What is this thing? Juno frowned, puzzled. I don't know, but I'm not sure that's our goal. We stopped, looking at the device from a distance. I think we better stay back. I wonder how long it's been sitting here. And fun fact, it's been so long. The third game is not even out yet. It's been that long since I even made it on the beach scene, and the third game has not been out yet, which I find it hilarious. I wonder how long it's been sitting here. Juno looked down and pointed at the armored fish-like creatures crawling under our feet. I didn't know what they were, but they looked scary enough, even though they were small. Judging by the fact that contamination zone is still small, this can't have been here for long. So what do? We have to shut it down somehow. Yes, but it's dangerous to approach for now. Juno folded her arms across her chest and thought, shouldn't we just destroy it? Just throw a grenade at it and it will be done with it? Juno shook her head. No, that's not a good idea. First of all, we need to study this thing. I'm pretty sure that's the source of the anomaly. And second, we don't know how the anomaly will behave if we destroy its vessel. We could destroy the planet and kill ourselves if the energy is let out all at once. I frowned, looking at the device, its crystals glowing with a strange purple hue. What do we do then? We can't just walk away. Of course not. Give me a moment to think of a solution. We were silent for a few moments, contemplating what to do. I'll contact Pixie. I've got research bots aboard the jet. I forgot about Pixie. I forgot that's even a robot, an AI thing. We'll try to shut this thing down and take it back to the ship with us. Do you know how to shut it down? I raised an eyebrow skeptically. Juno hummed. No, but we'll at least try. This thing is obviously artificial, and since that's the case, Pixie might be able to deal with it by controlling the bot. If the bot is damaged, Pixie will be fine, but if we approach it, I'm sure we'll share the fate of the animals strewn about around it. I nodded, staring at the glowing device, while Juno contacted Pixie. Soon the jet lowered onto the shore not far from us, and Juno went inside and came back out with a small robot in her hands. Let's see. Pixie, do your thing. Yes, Juno. Juno placed the robot remotely controlled by Pixie on the sand. Shifting its small wheels, it scuttered towards the device, quickly covering the distance. It's a good thing this stuff doesn't work on inorganic matter. The bot controlled by Pixie began to probe the device, and after several minutes of waiting, it finally managed to shut it down. The faint purple glow had ceased, as if the little light bulbs in the crystals had been extinguished. Juno and I looked at each other and stepped hesitantly toward the device. Damn. Juno picked it up with her tactical gloves and twirled it around in her hands. It looks like some kind of artifact. Can you tell what it is? I looked around the device, hoping to magically figure out what to do with it, how to destroy it, as if an instruction manual could be found on its shaft, detailing what to do next. Well, not quite. It's odd. It feels like the crystals are about to explode. This is the first time I've seen something like this myself. But after I do some research, I think I can figure out how it works. Juno activated the communications channel with Pixie again. Pixie, get the lab ready. We need a quick analysis. Yes, Juno. We went to the jet waiting for us on the shore, and Juno took the device inside, going straight to the mini lab. I waited outside, eyeing the halo around the hole in the sand where the device had been. When Juno came out, we were both silent for a while, looking at the animal corpses. Juno put out some bags and placed a few samples from the bodies inside. Do you think we can find the other devices that were placed here and disable them? Juno shrugged hesitantly. Theoretically, yes. It will take some time, but we can try. And there's a chance we can save this planet? If we disable all the devices, I mean? Juno sighed, unsure of how to answer my question. I don't know. We won't be able to make up that prediction until Pixie finishes the analysis. We don't know how long these things have been here. The process may be irreversible. But its range is still small if we hurry up. There's a chance, right? There was a stubborn hope in my voice that I didn't want to leave. I wanted to believe. I wanted to do everything in my power to save this planet. Oh fuck. It didn't matter if there was no sentient beings here. Everything else on this planet was living, blooming, and growing. It was a beautiful place brewing with life. My conscience wouldn't let me leave everything as it were. But I also understood that Juno was not a musician. We could only try to do what we could to improve the situation. We'll do our best, Doggo. We'll find the next device and figure it out, but first we need to conduct an analysis. Why wait? We can find them and shut them down right away. We don't know if there is any point in shutting them down. I don't think this planet could be saved either way. You can't know that for sure. What if those few hours to wait leave this planet no chance? I'm afraid it doesn't matter anymore. Doggo, you have to understand. We don't know how this thing works. We don't know how long these devices have been here. And even if we find them now and disable them all, it won't make any difference. I sighed, realizing that it was useless to argue. Juno was right. It was necessary to get rid of the devices at once to prevent what had happened, but we couldn't do that. The thought of the time we'd wasted checking in on Xena made me nervous. I forgot about Xena. I forgot she had a quote-unquote sister. And they made a game about her anyway, so I might go check that out if I have time. What if we arrived sooner, just a few days? We would have caught the moment these devices were placed here. But it was too late to think about that now. The feeling that we missed again, that we lost another round, slowly appeared in my heart. Doggo, it's going to be okay. We got the sample, and now we'll do what we can. Pixie will analyze it, and we'll find out how exactly it affects the planets. I understand, but I just can't sit around and wait. It feels like we're always running late. Juno nodded, understandingly, just putting her hand on my shoulder, squeezing gently. The analysis shouldn't take more than a couple hours. In the meantime, let's just have a little fun. Relax. Look at this gorgeous beach. The water must be pretty warm. An encouraging smile appeared on Juno's helmet. I snorted sourly at her suggestion. Are you suggesting we just rest while this planet dies? I can't do that. I can't just sit back. I've been sitting around for so long. The frustration in my voice was obvious. I was disappointed in myself, angry at the situation, and a little angry with Juno suggesting that we can't afford a vacation at a time like this. We're not gods, Doggo. We can't influence time. There's no point in rushing and blaming ourselves now. We are already doing everything we can do. It may seem like it's nothing, but in reality, we are making huge progress towards our goal. I gave you my word that I would do everything in my power to avenge your planet, and I won't take it back. Juno's words made me cool down a little. My shoulders slumped, the fever gone from my voice. I know, Juno. It's eating me up. I mean, we're right here, right now, when this is happening, and there's nothing we can do? Juno smiled sadly and shrugged. Sometimes all you can do is accept it. Look at what a beautiful place this is. We don't know what will happen to it or how long it will be like that. And even if everything here dies in billions of years, it may be rebuilt again and life may be here again. For now, we can just enjoy this place and remember it. No one will know that this planet was like this, and we are the only ones who will remember it. Juno's words made sense. I looked at the shore, at the blue water, at the landscape unfolded before us. Indeed, this planet was in a remote corner of the universe that few had even charted. And now, if I were to disappear forever, it will only remain in our memories, just like my planet, of which I am the last surviving inhabitant. You're right. We should probably relax a little if there's nothing else we could do. Juno smiled and nodded. Great, I'm going to throw these samples on the jet, run some tests to make sure this water is safe, and then I'll change into my new swimsuit. Juno hurried to the jet, and I remained standing on the warm sand, listening to the sound of the waves, the whisper of the wind, the rustling of leaves on the huge trees. I kicked the shoes off my feet and got rid of my outerwear, remaining in just my underwear. I like how it's bright blue. It's not orange, it's one of the colorful colors. Soon, Juno emerged from the jet, dressed in the blue swimsuit without any armor. Look at her with admiration, and we just headed for the water. Juno took her inflatable ring and threw it into the azul water. I stepped into the water just after her. There were rocks on the bottom, tiny colorful fish swimming, and aquatic plants flowing in waves. At that moment, all the worries in my mind faded, and I forgot about the mission and just dove into the water. After some swimming, we went ashore, and Juno suggested we try some of the local fruits hanging from the trees. The idea seemed dubious to me. After all, we didn't know what kind of fruit they were, but to reassure me, Juno did some quick tests and made sure they weren't poisonous. Her body could accept any kind of food, but my stomach was much weaker, especially when it came to alien fruits. We gathered everything we saw and sat down on the sand to taste it. Most were bitter and vigorous on the tongue, but some were so sweet that your mouth seemed to fill with sugar. Juno and I made the decision to make cocktails out of them. We quickly grabbed utensils from the jet, got drinking water and ice, and mixed everything together. Sheesh. While I sat on the shore, savoring the taste, Juno went back to the water and was now sitting on her floating and sipping the cocktail. Juno drifted on the waves, swaying and dangling her legs. A question popped into my mind, and I shouted my thoughts at Juno. What if there are some sea monsters living here? Juno laughed upon hearing my question. I guess we won't know until we see them. But don't worry, I'll be there in time to save you. I jumped into the water and approached her. And who will save you from it? I'm not a fast swimmer, you already know that. I was just joking, doggo. There are no monsters here. Why are you so certain? Anything that big doesn't swim close to the shore. There's no room for them to spread out, it's too shallow. But in the depths, where no light can be seen, Juno was mysteriously silent and grinned. I shuddered, staring out at the water far below the horizon. On my planet, there are all sorts of legends about sea monsters. Of course, I never seen them. I never spent much time near large bodies of water to begin with, but those stories, they always gave me goosebumps. You can't really see what's underneath the surface. Well, most intelligent species have some kind of stories about sea monsters. It's a manifestation of people's fears of the unknown. By the way, what were your trapped sea monster tales? I grinned, shrugging my shoulders. Well, let me think about it. There was a story about how Heavenly Mother cursed a guy who liked to steal fruit from her garden. According to the legend, this garden was somehow in the center of the world. The entrance to it was open to everyone. No one was forbidden to go there and admire the beauty and eat the fruits and berries with which the Heavenly Mother had gifted us. She was kind and generous, but only if people were honest and open with her. This meant that they had to treat the garden with respect and never take anything out of there, not even a bug or a leaf. But one fellow, his name was Kirst, was dishonest and used to steal the fruits from the sacred cheetah tree from the garden. They were delectable, unlike anything that could be found on the outside, and because of that, Kirst decided to take them to sell. The Heavenly Mother knew what he was doing, for she watched everyone tirelessly and knew everything about every soul. But she did not say anything to Kirst, hoping that he would come to her and apologize for his insolence. But Kirst had no intention of doing that. He was stealing fruit every day. Soon he became so bold that he began to tell that the Heavenly Mother herself had gifted him with these riches, and that she had allowed him to sell them because he was a good and upright man. When the Heavenly Mother heard this, she became furious. That night she cursed him, turning him into a large, ugly monster and put him in a deep, remote lake, so that he would no longer be able to deceive people. So Kirst lived there, eating small fish and scaring away the occasional diver who passed by. For his impotence and greed, Kirst was punished with loneliness. He begged the Heavenly Mother for forgiveness, but it was too late. So he remained a monster until the end of time, as ugly on the outside as he was on the inside, as huge as his ego. Juno listened to my story in silence, and when I finished, a smile appeared on her helmet. Wow, what a great tale you had. Did you believe in any of those? Well, I believed in a lot of things when I was a kid. And when I grew up, of course I stopped. The elders told me that they supposedly remembered how it all happened, and even said they saw that lake. But of course, it was just all fairy tales. Well, tell me more. I smiled, shrugging my shoulders. There are too many of them. What about you? Do you have any legends and tales to tell? I mean, from other planets that you visited. Juno fell silent, a puzzled expression appearing on her helmet. Now that I think about it, Toshi told me some stories about their mythology, but it was something very strange, and I can't remember it. Strange? What made it sound strange? It was a series of unusual tales about an immortal guy protecting mankind by sitting on his throne, with many factions and many smaller stories about different events. It was odd, because unlike most of the mythologies which tells about gods and other worlds, this one tried to imagine what happens in space, when these species didn't know anything about it. But it was such a bore that I can't even recall any particular story from it. That's too bad. I would have listened to other civilizations' myths. Juno soon got out of the water and tossed an inflatable toy onto the sand. She then settled on the shore, basking and drying off under the warm waves of the sun in the sky. We floated around for a bit, throwing handfuls of sand at each other. Then we both settled down across from each other and just enjoyed the moment. There's the sound. Juno was sitting directly in the... Okay, I want to see how... I just want to describe her. Juno was sitting directly in front of me, and I could see her beautiful figure, her relaxed posture, her right hips spread apart, her lovely breasts heaving quietly as she breathed. When Juno noticed my gaze, she waved her finger at me, and I moved closer, sitting down between her spread legs. How would you like to brighten up our little vacation with something nice? Juno smiled, slyly, putting her hand on my shoulder and pulling me closer. I laughed hardly, yet quietly. My lips brushed against her neck. The excitement in my body began to ignite with its usual speed, consuming everything in its path in the blink of an eye. I kissed her neck and shoulders lazily. She grew hotter with each passing minute. I soon we were both horny without even knowing when it happened. We laid on the warm ground, lounging in the warm sun, kissing and running our hands over each other's bodies. I never had sex in a place like this, and the anticipation settled in my stomach with a pleasant warmth. It was unusual, even a little reckless, but in this moment I wanted to sink deeper and deeper in pleasure with Juno. Her encouraging words were enough for me, so I pulled down my underwear. Oh, damn. Okay, I think that's it. Just skip that because it's really no point. I wanted to shout to the world how much I loved her, how good it felt to be with her. In that second of utter bliss, there was no dark past or frightening future. There was no mission, no heaviness in my heart from the responsibility I had taken on, no conflicting feelings that made me feel irritated and consistently angry at everything around me. The sky was so blue that its brightness made my eyes ache, and the sun seemed to embrace us on all sides. I didn't know how long we lay like that until I heard a beeping sound that broke the silence. A signal from Pixie. The device analysis was finished. The sound brought me back to reality. I rose from the sand, shaking myself off hastily, and pulled my clothes back on. Juno followed me, and we both headed toward the jet. I was anxious to see the results, and the whole time Juno was studying the results of the analysis. What? Did you find something? I'm not sure yet. It's hard to draw conclusions from one sample. We need to get others and analyze them accurately, which will take much longer. If we go now, we can do it all before dark. But I'm sure now that it's safe to deactivate all of the devices, at least that's something. Juno looked out the window of the jet. The sun was still pretty high. Then we have to move out. The sooner we go, the sooner we'll be done. Do you think we have a chance to save this planet? This plane? Do you think we have a chance to save this plane? Did this analysis tell anything about it? I'm assuming that's supposed to be planet. This plane? I think that's a typo. Juno just shrugged her shoulders. I don't know, Doggo. I don't want to jump to conclusions and give you false hope just yet. But at least we'll try, right? Of course. I nodded, ready to act. Juno turned on the jet and adjusted the locator, gave Pixie the coordinates where we needed to go. I was seized with impatience, a thirst of action that could not be contained. The whole time we were flying to the next point, there were only 2 points of the map. I was fidgeting in the seat of the jet, tapping my feet on the floor in a nervous rhythm. Juno didn't say anything to me about it, though. I could see her eyes on me every now and then. Finally, the jet hovered a couple of meters off the ground as that desired point, a small field on the other side of the planet. We'll land here and walk to the point. Juno took the locator, but I was in no hurry to join her. I think it would be wiser if we split up. You stay here and I'll head to the next point and pick you up on the way back. As soon as I finished my suggestion, which was immediately more cocky than I thought, Juno became silent and her helmet displayed an expression of silent shock. What? No! That is absolutely not a good idea, Doggo. We're on a dangerous planet. So what? You're well trained and nothing bad would happen to you. Besides, it will only take a few minutes to disable the device. We'll be in contact in case of anything. I'll be right back in. I'm not worried about me, I'm worried about you, dummy. You don't know this place at all. What if there's a dangerous creature out there and I don't get it in time to save you? My heart pricked with resentment. Juno, I'm not a child. I can take care of myself. You taught me everything and now I have to sit back? Nothing will happen to me. You saw how the local animals reacted to us? They didn't even look in our direction. It was only one species. What if you end up running into predators? No, that's out of the question. We go together. We already wasted a lot of time, and now we're wasting even more. We'll split up. I'm gonna stop. I hate our character so much. He's such an ignorant little dude. Oh my god, just join her. I don't care. We'll split up, and then we meet at the same point. I can stand for myself. Stop thinking I'm weak. Juno's helmet showed a sad expression that made me feel like a total asshole, but I wasn't going to back down on this. We had to use the time to our advantage as best we could. In the end, Juno only nodded and picked up her rifle. Please let me know if anything happens. With those words, she jumped out of the jet, landing smoothly on the ground. I nodded and wanted to wish her good luck, but Juno had already disappeared into the thicket of trees. After giving her a look, I returned to the control panel and asked Pixie to take me to the next point. The flight took a little time, during which I got my rifle ready and picked up the second locator, and then landed on the side of the wide river and set off down the trail. I didn't know how long I'd have to walk. The jet couldn't fly right up to the point because of the abundant, dense thicket of forest, so once again I had to waste time walking. I was focused on the locator, walking strictly towards the target, looking under my feet every now and then to make sure I didn't run into anything poisonous. The forest was quiet, even quieter in this part of the planet than the ocean shore. There seemed to be no animals here at all except for the occasional passing bird and bugs dancing in the air. Despite the fact that I was sure of my decision, an unpleasant feeling settled my stomach and gave me no peace. My thoughts were all about Juno. She and I hadn't been separated in the last 2 years on the ship, much less by such a distance, and now I felt strange, lonely, and lost. We spent almost all of our time together, and even if we split up on the ship to train or work in the lab, we always knew where to find each other. As I pounded the weights in the gym, I knew that at any moment I could go to the next compartment and find Juno there. But now she was somewhere far away, out of my sight, on an unknown planet, and I was getting more and more anxious. In 2 years, we barely got it off the ground. All we could do was fly from one planet to another, rarely landing on them because it was always too late. Some were ruined and floating in space as fragments of stone, while others, even from space, looked dead and rotted away, living their last hours in agony. We were always late, and time became my worst enemy. I didn't have enough time to train more, and I didn't have enough time to help any of the planets destroyed by the anomaly. I hated the feeling of helplessness and the guilt that came from my own inaction. All I could do was train and absorb Juno's teachings, and I was nowhere near her level in terms of both knowledge and strength. So all the tiny success that we managed to achieve was the result of Juno's hard work, which made me feel like a useless anchor. In fact, Juno didn't have to be concerned with finding the anomaly and trying to stop it at all. Her planet was safe, far away from us, and if she wanted to, Juno could just give up and fly far away from the anomaly, and had never been heard of. There was no way I could have gotten this far alone, even if Juno had given me a separate ship equipped with artificial intelligence and everything I needed to survive. So now I felt like a deadly determination to prove, at least to myself, that I could be useful. I could do what Juno had done. It was necessary for my own peace of mind, just to believe that something depended on me, that the past 2 years of hard work, the hard training wasn't for nothing. I finally reached my destination. I could see the purple glow of the device in the bushes along the river's shoreline. Taking the bot, I turned it on and set it on the ground, asking Pixie to turn off the device. There were animal corpses all around it. It's just like the first one. Seemed like there were even more of them here. Part of the river was also affected by the device, with many fish and small creatures thrown up by the water lying on their sides. I approached them, took a couple samples for Juno. Soon, Pixie turned off the device, the purple light went out, and I could pick it up. As I held it in my hands, I noticed that it was quite heavy. I ran back to the jet as fast as I could. Couldn't wait to get back to Juno, pick her up, get back to the ship. Though tiny, the little bit of hope I had convinced me that we could save this planet and kept me moving forward and gave me more motivation and strength to keep going. Climbing into the jet, I immediately called out to Pixie. Pixie, let's go get Juno. Where is she now? Silence was all I got in response. I frowned and moved closer to the jet's panel as if I could see Pixie there. Pixie? Hello? Again, a few long seconds of silence, which had never happened before. Pixie finally answered. Dougal, I apologize for not replying right away. Juno is in a rather dangerous situation right now. You need to go get her immediately. My heart sank into my stomach as soon as Pixie said that. Is she okay? What happened? Panic was clearly audible in my voice, and the ringing in my ears began to rise rapidly. Calm down, Dougal. You need to keep a clear mind. Juno is uninjured, but she is currently in battle mode. You need to come to her aid as soon as possible. I cursed, feeling a chilling sense of guilt clench my heart. If I hadn't insisted and stayed with Juno, this could have been avoided. Even though I wasn't as strong as Juno, it didn't mean anything. I'd rather know what was happening to her. Finally, the jet hovered above the forest, the doors opened, I jumped out of the jet. Here's what I am so confused about. Where is the jet's defense system? Where's the guns? Where's the blasters? Why does Juno not have a jet that has like a cannon or a galactic like a gun strapped to the jet? Like, why does it have no defense systems? Doesn't make any sense. Juno's figure immediately caught my eye. She was clenching her rifle in her hands, and thick green vines of vicious plant were trying to attack her. They were dense and strong, trying to grab Juno, but she managed to fight back. I saw Juno's ears twitch in the direction of the jet. She heard I'd come to help, but she couldn't afford a second respite. The plant, like a vicious monster, tried to grab her every now and then, and I felt the adrenaline rush into my bloodstream, instantly enveloping my body with heat. I had to act now. I grabbed my rifle and jumped into the fray. I rushed into a fight, trying to draw the plant's attention away from Juno. I started firing and screaming at it. Hey you, stupid weed! Try to catch me. Duggo, you really said that? I didn't know if the plant heard me, but as soon as I entered the fray, firing at the veins with my rifle immediately turned its attention to me, giving Juno a chance to take a breath. At that moment, my body began to move on its own, all thanks to the muscle memory and everything I've been learning for the past 2 years. I deftly dodged the vines that were trying to grab my legs. My heart pounded frantically against my ribs. I didn't see what Juno was doing at the moment. She disappeared from my sight, probably headed for the jet to help me out, but it didn't matter. At some point, I felt a vine wrapped around my ankle and dropped to me to the ground. I gasped, feeling the air get knocked out of my lungs, and started firing from a prone position, not really aiming, just hoping to distract the monster. The vine clenched around my leg with tremendous force, threatening to break the bone, but the pain flared up and spread throughout my body. At the moment, I heard Juno's voice shouting, "Doggo, cover your face!" I didn't have time to consider her request, but instinctively followed the command and covered my face with both hands. In the blink of an eye, the jet hovered right above the plant's maw, a strange substance emerged from the bottom of the jet. Herbicide, I thought. The monster let out a long, bestial roar, and the vein that was gripping my leg and pulling me forward, its maw weakened immediately. The monster shrank into a lump, continuing to growl in agony as the herbicide ate away its body. Sheesh. Well, when I took my hands away from her face, Juno had already jumped to the ground and sprinted toward me, falling to her knees beside me. Doggo, are you okay? Are you alright? Did it hurt you? On her helmet, one emotion replaced another, as if the helmet had short-circuited. I sat down on the grass, coming to my senses. I'm fine. It's nothing. Just a bruise at most. Damn it, I didn't know these things lived here. I should have known. There's a reason it was so quiet when we landed. Juno, it's okay. It's all my fault. We shouldn't have split up. I'm sorry I didn't want to turn it out like this. Juno helped me, setting me on my feet, and immediately squeezed me in a smothering hug. I wrapped my arms around her waist in response, breathing her scent, feeling that she was perfectly fine in my arms. It's okay. It's not your fault. We were both stupid. Let's not split up again, okay? Especially on unknown planets. Of course. Never again. I'm sorry, Juno. I didn't mean for this to happen. It's all my fault. I was stupid. I acted like a child. I was so ashamed. You could have gotten hurt because of me. Juno only shook her head, interrupting the flow of my apology, and pulled me closer to her. You couldn't have seen this coming. Besides, the most important thing is that we're both safe. Let's get back to the ship, okay? Did you get that device? Yeah, I got it. There was no creatures there. Oh, and I also got a few samples for you. Juno smiled warmly at me, gently stroking my cheeks with her fingers. Thank you, Doggo. I was so worried about you. You stood in the middle of the forest in a tight hug for a while, then hurried back to the jet, tired, dirty from the fight. Juno took the devices to the mini-lab, and I sat in the chair by the navigation panel, looking out of the jet window at the planet moving further away. My body was still hot from the fight. I stared at the planet, realizing that Juno and I might be its last visitors. But in that moment, I didn't feel the longing that had eaten away at my heart hours before. Now it was kind of relief and acceptance. I was glad that we'd been here, that we've been able to create memories that would stay in our minds forever. Even if this planet was gone in a couple of days or weeks, we would have known that it had been once here. And maybe, as Juno rightly said, one day it will fully recover from what happened and it will come back here again to see the new flora and fauna, to see what happened during our absence, knowing that we did everything we could to prevent its destruction. While Juno carried the devices to the lab, I went straight to the shower. All I wanted to do was wash away the signs of struggle and the grains of sand that clung to my skin after our time on the beach. Finally, I felt the fatigue rolling through my muscles. It wasn't every day that I went into battle after all. And what happened on that planet today made me realize that all the training I have done wasn't really helping me. Yes, I had become more agile and fast, and my endurance had improved, but sparring with Juno in the gym, where everything was clear and easy, couldn't compare to a real fight that could happen anywhere. The fact that my opponent wasn't someone whose techniques and behavior I knew, but an unknown creature, only heightened my desire to improve and train until I reached my limits. I realized that only real practice could prepare me for the tests ahead and make me worthy of being Juno's partner. It was terrifying to imagine that today things could have turned out differently, and I could have lost her due to a stupid incident. What would I do then? I would probably blame myself for the rest of my life, which would have been significantly diminished without her. Yes, I had some knowledge of the ship's controls, but it still wasn't enough. I couldn't continue traveling knowing that Juno was dead, and I wasn't strong enough to protect her. Today, I truly understood the risky game that Juno and I were playing. I realized that I had gotten myself into, driven by revenge. But no matter how terrible it was, I couldn't back down. I had no right to. I tried to push those thoughts out of my head because they weren't helping at all. In fact, in this situation, they were only making things worse. The desire for revenge, to find the source of the anomaly, to find the one who created it was still there. However, now it was joined by fear. Fear of what we might face in the future. After getting out of the shower, I went straight to the bedroom. The ship was quiet, and Pixie had dimmed the lights to create the illusion of night. It was the only way to regain some sense of time, as it was always dark in space. When I walked into the bedroom, Juno was already there waiting for me. She was lying on the bed, on her stomach. As soon as she heard my footsteps, she turned and looked at me over her shoulder, smirking softly. I hope you're not too tired. Juno smiled, keeping her eyes on me. I shook my head, approaching her and sailing onto the bed beside her. Gently, I ran my hand down her back, tracing the elegant curve of her spine until my palm settled on her lower back. A wave of tenderness washed over me, accompanied by a pleasant flutter of anticipation stirring in my lower abdomen. I can't believe I could have lost you today. A frown appeared on Juno's helmet. Don't think about it. You got there just in time, Dougal. And if I hadn't, we don't know what would have happened. This is just a hypothetical scenario. Juno tucked her legs underneath her body, finding herself in a knee-locked position. Yeah, I guess so. Stop being so sour, Dougal. Come here. Oh my god, not again. She arched her back invitingly, and I didn't deny her request, crawling closer to her. My lips pressed against her buttocks, then moved up to her back and neck, and finally landed on her shoulders and neck. Should we use ropes? I guess. Oh wow. That's gonna get blurred. We lay next to each other on the bed, enjoying the long-awaited rest. The sudden urge evaporated, leaving room for fatigue and the desire to sleep. Judah made herself comfortably on the bed, throwing her arm around me, snuggling closer to my side. Don't think about it, what could happen, okay? We're safe and everything's fine, so let's just rest for now. Her voice was sleepy and tired, a little tired. I nodded, even though she couldn't see. I really didn't want to think about what might have been. There were so many what-ifs going on around us that thinking about each one would make my head explode. But I knew that I wanted to protect her. I wanted to be the one who would be there for her at any moment. That was important to me, more important than anything else, and even more important than the mission. I knew that Juno wasn't angry with me, but that didn't mean I wasn't angry with myself. The fatigue was stronger than the anxious thoughts. As soon as I relaxed into Juno's warmth, my mind went dark and I finally fell asleep, listening only to the quiet sounds of the ship. I saw the familiar scene again, an image well imprinted in my head. Darkness in which the explosion burned red. The ship floating in the void, taking me farther and farther away from the wreckage. I knew it was a dream, and still I couldn't bring myself to wake up. In the dream, I knew it wasn't my home planet. It was the planet we just left and the place we're taking the devices from. But there, in the depths of my subconsciousness, I was leaving it not with hope for the best, but the realization that it was over. An icy dread swept over me, a painful tightness in my throat. I was alone on the ship. It was dragging me away, into the cold and lonely void, and flashes shone before my eyes. I knew Juno had stayed on this planet. Knew that there was nothing I could do to save her, and the feeling of utter helplessness. A dumb resignation mangled with terror and a tight lump tearing at my ribcage. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in the sleeping compartment. I was alone in bed. Juno's spot next to me was empty. I immediately sat up, my heart pounding rapidly in my chest. It was all a dream. Juno had come back to the ship with me. I knew it. I was sure of it, but I still couldn't shake the heavy crust that had formed in my heart from the dream. Pixie, can you tell me where Juno is? The second of waiting for an answer stretched for an eternity. I was afraid that it was the other way around, that our departure from the planet was a dream, and the reality was what I saw tonight, in the darkness of my own subconsciousness. I was afraid that now Pixie was going to tell me that I lost my mind, that Juno was gone, and now I was here alone. But Pixie thankfully brought me out of the abyss that was my own fears. Good morning, Dougal. Juno is in the lab right now. Would you like to join her? Yes, that would be great. I got out of bed, put my clothes on. Would you like to have breakfast now? No, I'll eat later. Did Juno tell you that not eating breakfast is detrimental to your body? I don't want to hear your lectures again. My answer sounded slightly annoyed, but Pixie didn't take any offense. As you wish. If she starts scolding you, don't say I didn't warn you. I grinned, quickly thanked Pixie for his concern, and headed for the lab. Juno was there. She was sitting at the table, scrutinizing the results of the analysis. I walked up behind her, put my arms around her. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Juno smiled at me, glancing over my shoulder. Yep, slept like a baby. The lie fell easily from my lips. I didn't want to tell Juno about the nightmares that haunted me every night. It didn't make any sense anyway. Are you sure? Pixie said your pulse was... I hurriedly interrupted Juno. It's okay, really. I must have dreamt about something stupid and made me agitated. A concerned expression appeared on Juno's helmet. What was your dream about? I don't remember. I think it was about a spicy pizza we ate half a year ago. Seriously? That made you agitated? Yeah, I was running from a giant pizza while my mouth burned. It must have crawled its way back to my mind due to how spicy it was. Remember the day we ate it and how too much of the capasat thing was mixed into the dough? Even if Juno didn't believe me, she decided not to push it and just shrugged. By the way, don't tell me you've been here all night again. No, I just woke up a couple hours ago. The deep analysis made by Pixie is done, and now all that's left is to summarize everything we know about it. I sat down next to her, ready for a serious conversation. Any progress? Yes, you could say that. The first thing is that these devices are definitely connected. They don't affect each other's work, but if one stops working, the others ones know about it. The devices do not have any AI in them. Instead, they operate using a specific algorithm. As I suspected at the beginning, while still researching the anomaly on your planet, it's all done by someone who planted all of them. Someone deliberately placed them on this planet, as they did the same on yours and many others. Is there any way to find out who did this? No, I don't think so. At least not while they're in their off state. But I can't turn them on. There's too great of a chance it would kill us immediately. The only way to test him is to try to activate one of the desolate planet. But I don't want to do that unless there are no other options. So what do we do now? Juno sighed. I think these devices are powered by the energy of the planets and all living things on them. Remember when I said that all living things carry a certain energy? These devices devour and drain the energy from the planets. But why do they need that energy? Where do they put it? The energy is partially used to power the device. It affects the environment that requires some energy, but all the other energy is stored inside. It's all about these crystals. I studied them, but so far it's too little to draw any conclusions. But I'm sure they store it. So these devices feed on planets' energies? Then why are they blowing it up afterwards? Why were the animals on the last planet dying and the animals on mine getting infected? Juno was thoughtfully silent. I don't know yet, Dago. There is not enough information. These devices hardly give any information while turned off. If we could observe it from afar and see how it reacts to living things, that might give us enough information. We saw how it reacted. It created a pile of bodies laying around it. Yes, but as you said yourself, they died immediately. They didn't get infected. Something just doesn't add up here. The anomaly on 01221M is definitely on the same nature as the anomaly on your planet. They were all created by the same person, but there was no virus on 01221M. I did a study on the samples we collected. They just died. They weren't infected. I would suggest that what happened on your planet is a result of individual mutation. The device has Siri Rican in an index case, patient 0, making his body a suitable host for all sorts of viruses mutations. But I studied the virus from your planet, and I can say certainly that it was an artificial virus. What do the devices have to do with it? Do you think they are infectious? I would assume so, but I'm not sure how to explain it yet. These devices look more like batteries. I couldn't find anything related to the virus. Yes, they affect the environment, but they don't infect it. They just suck the energy out of all living things and store it in themselves. But what's the point of that? Why destroy 01221M in the first place? It's not like anyone lives there. I don't know, but I do know those devices would have destroyed 01121M if we hadn't intervened and shut them down. But given that I have detected the virus, the planet has every chance of recovering. So we saved it? A smile appeared on Juno's helmet. I think so. My heart jumped with joy at this news. Yes, that's great, Juno. We saved the entire planet. Yes, but it's still too early to get excited. We need to understand how these work and where the virus comes from. Were there no traces of the virus on the other planets we flew past? I can't say for certain. We flew over planets that had already been destroyed. It's impossible to say for sure that there was no virus, especially given how nearly impossible had been to take samples. But in this case, I don't think enough time has passed. We were lucky to get it to in time. Okay then, what happens to the devices on the planet explodes? Are they destroyed along with it, or, I don't know, move somewhere? Juno shrugged thoughtfully, running her eyes over the research results again. So far, we don't have an answer to that question either, but we will find it out soon, I hope. I nodded. I was ready to move on no matter what. The idea of facing the virus again terrified me. I could still remember what had happened to the animals and humans on my planet that didn't stop me. Even if Juno had only saved a small little known planet with no intelligent life, it was already our small victory. I wasn't going to stop there. I knew for a fact Juno wasn't going to either. So what do we do now? We still need to figure out how this thing works. You remember how I said they were connected? I nodded, and Juno pointed to the computer monitor that showed a map of the galaxy we were now in. As I said, these devices are connected to each other. But for some reason, they have a set of coordinates, and I think those are the coordinates for the nearest planet with those devices. Wait, why? Why would this person leave them scattered like that? Wouldn't they be afraid that we could use it to find them? That's another question that we can't answer yet. But you're right. This helps us a lot. Gina pointed on the map to a specific planet and said, "This is the nearest planet with those devices. I found it myself some time ago, and the device coordinates confirmed it. So that's our next destination. It's an ice planet called 8819Y. Intelligent beings live there, but are at an early stage of development, just like your planet. We should head over there, disable all the ones at the devices, and observe how it works. What if there's a virus in there? If there's a virus in there, we could make an antidote based on the vaccine I made for you. We just need to figure out if the virus is there in the first place. We must find the devices, disable all of them except for one, and then observe them. As soon as it's dangerous, we'll shut the last one down and prepare for the antidote." Juno's plan sounded pretty good to me. After all, the news that we had managed to save 01221M from destruction, I felt an extraordinary surge of energy and motivation. Then let's go there and do our best. Yes, absolutely. By the way, you said there are intelligent beings living there? Have you been there before? I haven't personally been there, but I know that some spacefarers been there before. Wait, what about the rule of not making contact? This planet's case is a bit special. It was once developed and almost ready to enter the space age. They made their first contact with other planets, had the technology to travel into space. But a sudden human-made catalysm destroyed everything on this planet. After the catalysm, the planet entered an ice age a few tens of thousands of years, and nothing has changed since. Some of the beings there survived to have adapted to the cold temperature and started their technical progress all over again, and almost nothing survived the catalysm. And nobody helped them? After the catalysm, the inhabitants chose not to seek any help in restoring their technologies. Instead, they embraced their primitive lifestyle and isolated themselves, denying any possible progress. But they know that space exists and other creatures live there, so we won't affect their progress in any way. It was really hard for me to imagine why this species denied any progress, but I guess I understood their feelings. By the way, how about some breakfast? You haven't eaten anything yet. Pixie told me all about it. I wrinkled my nose. What a freaky snitch. I hear everything, doggo. Juno laughed when Pixie responded to my mumbling. Come on, we need to eat. The ice planet's at least a few days away. We have time to relax again and regain our strength. Juno and I left the lab and headed for the food bay. Pixie had preheated our food at Juno's request. Tickle of excitement filled my chest. I had never met any other alien creatures besides Juno and Xena, who were members of the same species. The fact that this was about to change was both thrilling and slightly unsettling. How would I perceived on this planet? Would its inhabitants to be hostile towards us? Would we interact with them, or would we remain in the shadows so as not to frighten anyone? This stream of questions in my head was interrupted by Juno's voice. What are you thinking about? About this planet we're going to. I don't even know what it's going to be like. It's not like I met other intelligent beings in space besides you. Don't worry, everything will be fine. At first, when I started my expeditions, I was also afraid to encounter new species. It was always exciting. How would they perceive you? How would they be hostile and hospitable? But the process of communicating with them eliminates all fears. Of course, they will be afraid of you, just like they were of me. But once they realize that we come in peace, fear will be replaced by interest. Intelligent beings are always afraid of what they don't understand. So we're going to interact them openly? Yes, of course. Not with everyone, obviously, just a couple. We need a guide who could help us contact the others in case of danger. What if no one agrees to be our guide? Juno smiled. There's always someone willing. Like you, for example. I grinned, blushing slightly at the memory when Juno and I first met. I had been startled and delighted, and then I ruined the whole first expression by lying to her about my true motives. All I wanted to do was run away, and nothing else mattered to me. Now I was living on the run, literally traveling through a universe that is much bigger than I could imagine, even in my wildest fantasies. I couldn't mind going with Juno, if I weren't for the fact that my home planet had been destroyed and I could never return to it. But in a way, it was even easier now, knowing that I was no longer confined to a single point in the universe, that with Juno, all paths are open to me. She is my home now, and I don't care where I go. As long as I am near her, that's enough for me. As we approached the planet, I saw a perfectly round snow globe glowing in the cold blue light amidst the darkness. It resembled a frozen polished snowball, a smooth in appearance, with flecks of white and dark blue, in stark contrast to the previous planet, which was abruptly rich in fauna and displayed thick greenery even from space. This one appeared to be a desolate, lifeless wasteland. Ooh. Juno and I prepared ourselves thoroughly before boarding the jet and descending to the planet's surface. Both Juno and I put on warm thermal gear despite her armor protecting her from the cold. My heart raced with excitement as we slowly descended. As soon as the jet doors opened, we were greeted by an endless expanse of snow-white desert. I had never witnessed such a sight before. Although there had been snow and cold on my home planet, never had I seen such vast quantities in my memory. Juno was the first to leap off the jet, hovering a meter above the ground, and I followed her. However, while Juno landed in the snow, only knee-deep, I found myself submerged in a snow drift up to my waist. Damn, it's impossible to walk here. Juno smiled, trying to shout over the wind hitting us right in the face. It's okay, we won't be here for long. Let's go. The wind whistled, the frost bit my face, and the snowflakes scratched my skin. Even in the suit, my legs and feet began to freeze after just 30 minutes. Juno held the locator in her hand, leading the way towards the first device, while I struggled to follow along the already dampened path. My excitement in discovering a new planet quickly dwindled. Even if there was something to see, the icy blizzard made it impossible. The blizzard engulfed us, creating an impenetrable wall, and our only point of reference was the locator. Juno's helmet illuminated yellow, assuring me that she was directly in front of me, but I still couldn't look ahead. I had to keep my head down to shield my face from the wind and snow. How much longer do we have to walk? I don't know. I guess not that much. Keep up. Juno kept turning around to check on me every 10 minutes, making sure I didn't fall through the snow or wander off. The deep snowdrifts made walking noticeably challenging, leading to quick exhaustion. I just wanted to finish everything as soon as possible and retreat to the cozy warmth of the jet, leaving the harsh weather behind. We're almost there. Now we have to get to the mountains. I think the device is in the cave. Juno, like me, had to shout to make any kind of contact. We struggled to reach the mountains, which I only noticed as we approached them. They were covered in ice and snow, and the blizzard made it impossible to see from a distance. Once we were in a cave that sheltered us from the wind and snow, I exhausted with relief. This is impossible to navigate. Who can live on such a harsh planet? Juno laughed, shaking off the snow. Like I said, the locals have adapted to these conditions. But just so you know, we're here in the coldest season of the year, and we're close to the pole. That's why it's so harsh. I'm sure it'll get better as we move farther around the planet. This planet is like an icy hell. I wouldn't last a week here. Don't worry, you'll get used to it in a couple of days. We need to find the first device to disable it. It's somewhere in this cave, according to the locator. Frozen and tired, I grumbled unhappily. Why hide it so deeply? On the previous planet, the devices were literally in plain sight. That's because there were no intelligent beings on the previous planet. Whoever installed them probably didn't want the inhabitants to find and break it. Juno and I went farther into the cave. It was as cold as it was outside. Cold was coming from everywhere, but at least we were protected from the wind. As we walked, I eyed the outlandish crystals growing from the floor and ceiling of the cave. They resembled icicles, but much brighter and glowing with a beautiful bluish hue. Do you think there are any settlements around here? I don't know. Probably not. If I remember correctly, the locals live closer to the equator. It's warmer there, though not by much. How can you live like this when it's winter all the time? It's not even taking into account that damn cold. Everything here is cold and frozen. It's all kind of sad. Juno shrugged, following the locator. The locals are used to it. They haven't seen anything else. We went further into the cave, only to discover that the locator had held us to the opposite side of where we had initially entered. As it turned out, we had unintentionally passed the device while engrossed in the conversation, prompting us to retrace our steps with a sigh. The device was located in the heart of the mountain, almost amidst the shimmering blue light that came from the crystals. Juno came to a halt and activated the bot, which, under Pixie's direction, commanded the process of disarming the device. Why wasn't it installed here? I understand it's to keep it from being destroyed by the locals, but don't you think it's hidden too deep? I mean, there's not even any wildlife here. These devices devour energy not only from living things but also from the planet's core. I think this one is particular is kind of a backup plan, just in case something happens to the others. There are more of them on this planet than the previous one. I think it's because of the risk of being discovered. And on my planet, where were they located? Juno shrugged. I don't know. We discovered the effects on the anomaly too late. It was useless to look for them. But I think there was one of them in the cave where you went alone. I shuddered involuntarily. I don't remember very well what was there. I only remember the red color. It was everywhere. Why are these things purple then? Jin looked thoughtfully at the device the robot was disarming. I think it depends on the stage the destruction progress is in. The closer to the final stage, the redder the light. But that's just a hypothesis. I hope we don't get a chance to confirm it. This cave reminded me of the one I almost died in. It was just as cold and damp and dark, and the only difference was the color of light. Juno and I waited patiently for the bot to disarm the device before heading back to the jet. We'll sleep in the jet tonight, and tomorrow we'll see what the weather's like. I got my camouflage mode, just in case, and hopefully no one will pass by. The sky had already begun to darken, turning from grayish-white to black, revealing a view of canvas of stars scattered across the sky. I think it will take us a few days to get to the next 5 devices. As I said, we won't turn off the 6th one. We'll set up close to the equipment and see how it behaves. What do you think? Yeah, that's a great idea. If things get out of control, we shut this thing down. And if we find an effective individual, we start making an antidote right away. I've referred everything I need to in the jet's lab, so I don't have to go up to the ship. Is there really anything alive here? We walked around all day and didn't see a single animal. Juno laughed warmly. Not that we had a chance to see anything at all behind this blizzard. And then we'll meet the locals? Juno shrugged. Maybe we won't need to meet them. We'll see what the last device research shows. But in case we have to make contact with the locals, I think it's best not to tell them what happened to your planet. Why not? I frowned, hearing Juno's words. Juno shrugged. We don't know if we'll be able to do anything if it's too late. You can't know for sure. It is better not to scare the population and not to give them any hope. Ignorance is bliss. Juno's words made sense. I remember what it had been like to learn such terrible news, that the virus was irreversible, and that there was no cure. Even though we had a cure now, we didn't know if it was the same virus or if it would behave the same way here. As I thought back 2 years to my plan, I realized that as a simple citizen unfamiliar with Juno, I would have preferred not to know about the impending tragedy. Juno and I went to bed in the jet, listening to the icy wind whistling ceaselessly outside. We spent the next few days on the road. Moving around the planet on foot was problematic. Snowdrifts significantly slowed us down, and the harsh climate caused rapid fatigue. Besides, due to the snow, there was practically nothing to see. We walked solely based on the signal of the locator, trusting the small device in Juno's hands with our lives. These few days were challenging and very tiring, especially while we were searching for devices in the northern part of the planet. When we had free time to spend in the jet, we had no energy left for anything other than rest. We just wanted to lie down in the warm, dry compartment of the jet and fall asleep. It got dark early here, and the night was long and cold. The day was gray, faded, and short. There was nothing to see here except for snow, which I hated so much that I didn't want to get out of the warm jet to look for another device. I was frustrated with my own fatigue. My body just wasn't strong enough for extended expeditions in such harsh conditions. Unlike Juno, who remained positive and upbeat, I felt like a storm cloud. It greatly annoyed me that Juno made me feel weak. I was on the verge of collapse after just a few hours of plowing through the snowdrifts. All the while, Juno effortlessly continued forward without any signs of exhaustion. No matter how hard I tried to contain my irritation, it persisted, and only made things worse. I felt like I was the one slowing us down. But the worst moments came when Juno would pause to collect samples for research. She was trying to combine the mission with her usual work of exploring planets, unable to resist the allure of a rare animal or rock. Each break, no matter how brief, fueled my frustration. I suppressed the urge to explode with anger, fearful that I might say something hurtful. It wasn't Juno's fault how I felt, but I couldn't communicate with her in a normal manner. Are you okay? We still have a long way to go. Juno looked back at me once more as we walked through the snowdrifts towards the next device. Yeah, I'm perfect. Never been better. Hearing the irritation in my voice, Juno tried to diffuse the atmosphere and smiled. It's okay, just a little bit longer. About 20 or 30 minutes. You can do it, Doggo. Do you want me to carry you do you want me to carry you on the way back? Juno offered this in a perfectly calm, soft voice that didn't hold a note of mockery, but my face flushed so intensely that even in the blizzard I felt hot for a second. No, I'm not a child. To my lightning fast reply, Juno only shrugged her shoulders. As you wish. But if anything happens, you tell me right away. It's okay if you're exhausted. I said nothing, moving with double the effort to follow her. How do you manage to stay so cheerful? Aren't you feeling tired at all? Juno smiled at me again. I have a lot more stamina than you because of my genes. Besides, I'm used to the fact that different plants can have different conditions, sometimes very difficult. I've been traveling the universe for a long time. And you've been to a planet like this before? With a climate like this? Yes, a few times. However, I often didn't stay there long. I took quick tests of whatever I could get my hands on and flew away, because there's rarely anything alive in such places. Only if you drill into the ground and search there, but that's what research teams do. Teams? Yeah, didn't I tell you that? Juno turned around on me with a smile. No, you don't talk much about your past and your planet. Oh, right. Well, we're setting up research teams on our planet. We need them to study planets with harsh climates in more detail. They often go to uninhabited planets, taking measurements and making predictions about whether a planet has a chance of becoming habitable. Why didn't you join a research team? Isn't it better to travel through space with others? Well, yes, usually it is better, but I just couldn't fit in any research team. But I have you now, so I don't need one anyway. Aren't you bored with less developed species? Like mine, for example? Juno's Hama displayed a surprised expression on her face. What do you mean by less developed? I shrugged. You're far more intelligent than I am, and you're stronger and more durable too. And you're also older. Aren't you bored with me? Juno stepped hip deep in snow and turned her whole body toward me. What are you talking about? Of course I'm not bored with you. I didn't respond with anything. This question visited me from time to time, in training, in the lab, with navigating the ship. I felt that Juno was superior to me in every way. Yeah, that was a stupid question. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the mission right now. I understand, but don't think I'm bored with you, Doggo. It's not like that at all. I love you, and want to be with you. That's the most important thing. Besides, it doesn't matter how strong or intelligent you are. What really matters is the way you view this universe. If only I had your level of determination, I could reach all my goals. I really admire how fast your progress is, and how determined you are to continue with this adventure. If only I got it naturally, and not by witnessing the destruction of my planet. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Don't worry, you said nothing wrong. Suddenly, the locator in her hands beeped, indicating that the device was nearby. Finally, let's go and find this thing. We moved forward, finding the next point. The device was almost entirely covered in snow, so the bot had to clear the path to disable it. After the device became inactive, we headed back to the way we came, summoning the jet so we wouldn't have to walk the whole way. As soon as we were back on the ship, Juno took the device to the lab. I took off my clothes wet from the melted snow and immediately wrapped myself in a blanket, enjoying the long-awaited warmth and rest. Soon, Juno joined me, shedding her armor. When Juno saw me in a pile of blankets, gritting my teeth from the cold still lingering in my body, she smiled and laid down beside me. As soon as we're done with the mission, we'll fly to the next planet with those devices, which is going to be a warm, deserted planet. I grinned, still shivering from the cold. That would be nice. I already missed the previous planet and its climate. After a moment of silence, I suddenly asked, do you think that we can complete this mission? I mean, to get rid of those devices once and for all, to find and stop whoever did it. I hope so, Doggo. I really do. Her answer made me snicker. Doesn't sound promising at all. I know, but that's all I can say right now. You shouldn't make predictions with so many unknowns. We are moving towards the goal. That's the most important thing. Have you ever done anything like this before we met? Saved other planets from destruction? Nina shook her head. This is as new an adventure for me as it is for you. By the standards of space travelers, my past life was pretty boring. I only collected and researched different species. But I really like this mission, this adventure, because I'm doing it with you. Thanks. That means a lot to me. Juno laid down near me as we hugged each other. We fell into silence again, listening to the faint noise of the jet, luring us to sleep. Oh, this is where we meet the person, if I remember. The next day, we finally met to the next cluster of devices, which was located on a different part of the planet, closer to the equator. Once outside, I immediately noticed the weather change. Although it was still cold outside, the wind was not as brutal as in the north, and the snow was swirling in small flakes in the air. The mountains were visible in the distance. and the clearing where we landed was surrounded by bare, sparse forests and with thin, scarcely leaved trees. The snowdrifts on this part of the planet were also much less deep than where we'd been before. I was only up to my calves in the snow, which made it much easier to get around. As soon as we got out to follow the locator, we heard a loud, sudden scream, clearly not belonging to an animal. Juno and I froze, looking around tensely. Did you hear that too? The sound seemed to be coming over there. Juno pointed in the direction, and a second later that scream was repeated. What is it? It's not an animal, is it? I don't think so. We have to check. She grabbed the gun, which had been hanging on her waist in a special pouch, and together we ran towards the sound. Running in the shallow, untouched snow was not easy. Juno immediately pulled ahead of me, and I had no choice but to follow. I stared intently into the white surface, but saw no one. The thin, brittle tree trunks hardly blocked my view. Finally, we reached a small hill and saw the creature screaming. The creature looked like Juno, but without the helmet and armor. It had green fur and a wolf-like face, and its entire body was covered in warm clothing made of animal fur. The creature sat in its snowdrift, backing away from the huge beast in thick black fur, baring its fangs and ready to attack at any moment. But Juno didn't let that happen. With a loud cry, she shot into the air right above the animal's head, scaring it away. The beast ran away. Juno and I hurried over to this creature to see if he was okay. Oh! As soon as he saw us, his face stretched, his eyes widened, and for a few moments the three of us stared at each other in stunned silence. The creature began to speak rapidly in a low, muscular voice, but I couldn't understand a word. Its language sounded like a collection of random sounds that made no sense to me. Apparently my confusion was apparent in my face, because Juno elbowed me in the side and pointed to the communicator in my ear. I quickly turned it on and the local language began to broadcast a translation directly to my ear. Who are you? Where did you come from? Juno put her gun away and put her hands out in a peaceful gesture. Don't be afraid of us, we won't hurt you. She spoke slowly in the creature's language, as if she was soothing a small child. My name is Juno, and this is my companion, Dago. We come in peace, and wish you no harm. Completely confused, I blurted out inappropriately. Yes. The creature looked at us, shifting its gaze from one to the other. Its gaze stopped on Juno. I beg your pardon. Are you by any chance a Protogen? Juno's helmet reflected a surprised expression. Yes, I'm a Protogen. How did you know? I didn't realize this planet had evolved so quickly in a short period of time. Oh no, it's the same old thing. It's just that we've had a Protogen come here before, about 5 years ago, maybe a little more. I don't remember his name. He stayed in our village. The local finally got up out of the snow and shook off the clumps that had stuck to his clothes and then looked at me. I've never seen anyone like you before. Who are you? Me? I'm a human. Human? That's great. Where's your fur? I remember in my past recordings I would laugh at this. Like, he said it so nonchalant. Human? That's great. Where's your fur? My fur? The local nodded. All the space travelers I met had fur, and you're kind of naked. I blinked confusedly. My species doesn't have fur. Oh, I see. I apologize if that was a tactless question. No, it's okay, no problem. We fell into a segment of awkward silence. I'm Lance, by the way. Nice to meet you. Thanks for rescuing me. I thought for sure the Shia was going to tear me up today. Shia? Is that the name of this beast? Lance nodded. Yes, this season they're gone completely off the rails. They started coming to the villages. It's dangerous to go into the forest. 3 people from my village have already been torn apart. Jesus. Juno nodded thoughtfully. What were you doing out here by yourself if it's so dangerous? I had to come out. I needed to get some twigs for the fire, and there was no one else to go. I was lucky you were here to save me. How far is your village? About 3 hours away. About 3 hours away. You said these animals, Sheila, right, have gone completely off the rails? What does that mean? Has it ever happened before? I immediately understood why Juno was asking a question. She must have suspected it was about the device which was nearby. Lance nodded at her question. Yeah, the Sheila aren't usually found here at all. They live deep in the forest, feed on carrion, and they are afraid of hunters. Back in Ingus, they weren't visible. But as soon as Itis came, it was like they went crazy and started attacking us. Igus and Itis are the name of the seasons. We don't have seasons. In the south, only the Iris and Ivius are a little warmer than here. It was hard for me to imagine what it would be like to live in an endless winter all my life, when there aren't even seasons. And you? You're a male, aren't you? I remember Juno meeting me and asking me the same questions. Juno must remember it too because her helmet reflected a soft smile. At my question, Lance squatted his shoulders a little, like he was trying to peer taller. Yes, I'm male. Are you a male as well? Yes. I thought so. By the way, you're kind of short. Are you a teenager? No, I'm an adult, but I'm not short. That's standard height for my species. Lance's remark pricked my pride a little. He smiled immediately. Oh, I'm sorry. Like I said, I never met anyone like you before. What did you call yourself? Human. Exactly. It's funny. Why are you called that? Does it have any meaning in your language? I didn't have time to answer that question because Yuna asked Lance, are you an adult yourself? How old are you? I was born 17 Aegis ago, so I'm assuming years. So you're younger than me. Lance laughed and shrugged. I guess so. What are you even doing here? Were you just passing by though? Juna and I looked at each other, then she answered. We're here on business, you might say. We're looking for some artifacts. We've already collected most of them, but there are some of them left. What kind of artifacts? We don't have anything on our planet that would be viable to sky travelers. You don't want to take away our resources, do you? Lance frowned slightly. Juno immediately shook her head. No. Of course we're not taking anything from you. It's just that, a while back someone left some stuff on your planet and we're looking for it. Has anyone flown in recently? You didn't see anyone? You didn't see anyone? No strange creatures? Lance shook his head thoughtfully. No, I don't remember anything like that. But I didn't see your ship either. If you hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have known you were around. And who is the someone who leaves his stuff here? Juno and I glanced over again and answered at the same time. We don't know. It's a long story. Lance looked at us questioningly, but didn't inquire further. Alright, you guys can keep your secrets. Just answer, should I fear for my planet or not? Many different answers swirled in my head. Lance was surprisingly much more advanced on the subject of space travelers. Someone must have told him before that his planet might be in a danger, or he wouldn't have had such thoughts. It'll be fine. We just take the artifacts and fly away. Juno threw me a brief glance and didn't protest and nodded. Well, that's fine then. I can help you find these artifacts of yours if you want. I'm very familiar with the area and all the roundabouts. This area can be quite dangerous if you don't know where to go. Thank you. We will gladly take you up on your offer. We have a locator that indicates the location we need, but we could use the help of a local. Juno smiled once more and I shrugged. I didn't even have an issue with accepting Lance's help, even though I felt that we didn't actually need it. Our tasks were nearly done here. All that remained was to gather the remaining devices, suddenly want to understand its impact on the environment, deactivate it, and then depart. However, I also had a desire to interact further with the locals, especially if there was a representative among them who wasn't afraid of Juno. Great, it's been a long time since I interacted with the Sky Travelers. How have things in the universe changed in that time? Any interesting news to report? Lance looked on with genuine joy and interest. His gaze immediately lit up full etherealism. I guess nothing much happened. By space standards, a few years is not much time at all, so I don't even know what to tell you. Well, that's probably a good thing. Everything's peaceful and calm. Lance smiled a little embarrassing, then suddenly caught himself. Where do you need to go? Show me where you're going and I'll figure out the best way to get there. Juno handed Lance the locator and pointed to a flashing dot a few kilometers away. Lance seen the dot looked around and looked in the direction she was pointing. You're lucky I got in the way. That way is pretty dangerous. It's inhabited by Yearns, and they don't like visitors, so we avoid that area. Who are the Year guys you mentioned? Lance grinned from the way he heard that question from my communicator. You have such a funny way of pronouncing our words. I never heard that accent before. Yearns are predators with 2 legs and 2 hands, just like we have. They're pretty smart, but they don't go outside their territory. They eat mostly critters, but if a random passerby annoys them, they'll hunt them down. They'll hunt him down. I shuddered when I heard the story, but Juno only smiled. Then we're lucky to have you as to guide us. Yeah, let's go. We have to make a little detour, but we'll get around this place. I don't doubt that you would have been able to defeat them, but when that Protogen came to us, he told us that we couldn't interfere with the planet's ecosystem, so I guess that's the same case for you. Juno nodded thoughtfully. Yes, we only do it in extreme cases, to protect ourselves or something like that. We began our journey through the snowy forest. Lance bombarded Juno with various questions, ranging from space-related topics to what the previous Protogen visitor had shared with him. Juno did her best to provide answers, although some things were unknown to her as well. This was because, for the past 2 years, neither Juno nor I had shown much interest in news from the universe. Our focus had slowly been on the mission, causing us to feel disconnected from the outside world. Despite Lance's naive and outdated inquiries, Juno patiently responded, trying to maintain a friendly demeanor and occasionally flashing smiles. Meanwhile, I had remained silent, keeping an eye to our surroundings to ensure we were not being followed. As we passed through this particular section of the forest, a strange atmosphere enveloped us. We were near the domain of those predatory creatures. Suddenly, a piercing howl interrupted from a nearby direction, reverberating through the forest. The three of us froze in our tracks, startled by the sound. This haunting cry, reminiscent of a scream, and sent a chilling shiver down our spines. What the hell was that? It's a Yiren's cry. It's a Yiren's scream. I think one of them is patrolling the area, watching us. Ooh, that's creepy. We were walking right on the border of their territory, but it's okay. They won't attack us if we move at the right pace. So they won't attack us as long as we follow you, right? Yep, as long as you follow me with the same speed. Oh, by the way, we have a legend about their origin. Would you like to hear about it? Sure, as long as your speech doesn't provoke them. I just say nothing. It's not that I didn't want to hear the story, but I couldn't understand why they were so calm. Weren't we, like, almost in danger? It's been passed down from generation to generation, more as a scarecrow to frighten naughty children and warn them not to go into the forest. In ancient times, the Yirens were the inhabitants of these woods. They lived in these places long before us and were neighbors to the spirits. Things were different in those days. It was always warm and thick forests grew all over the planet, and there was no snow at all. According to this legend, the Yirens were the children of the spirit Guog, who created them from the branches of the great tree and the blood of the forest animals. Guog was bored, so he decided to create those he would care for. The Yirens were a wealthy, advanced race who built settlements and traveled to planet. Oh, they're talking about the previous, before the whole thing caved in, the whole, like, snowstorm? Oh, the spirit of Grog had a brother, and spirit Jargus. They were both children of the wind and sky, and they did not get along. Grog was a wise older brother who helped and protect nature, and was its good friend, while Jargus was mean and envious, never able to reach his brother's greatness. When Grog created the Yirens, Jargus was literally mad with envy. He tried to replicate what he had done, tried to recreate his own children, but nothing worked. All he could come up with were scarecrows made of sticks and leaves because Jargus was too evil and black to breathe life into them. Huh, interesting. Then Jargus decided to create his own creatures and molded a monster out of the carcasses of dead animals. He took the corpse of every animal that existed on the planet and, piece by piece, molded a huge evil monster named Raykar. Raykar was not intelligent like the Yirens, could not feel positive emotions, could not create beautiful things, but he was a loyal pet to Jargus, who began to train him, teach him, and scorch him with the blood of predators to make him evil and cruel. When Raykar grew so large that he could almost reach the sky, Jargus sent him on Guag and made Raykar kill his own brother. Raykar tore him to pieces and devoured him. Jesus. It was such a cruel act, one that Guag did not deserve, that the sky became angry with Raykar and turned him into a mountain we now call Mountain of the Dead. But Guag could not be returned, and Jargus became the full spirit of the valley. He was angry and decided to turn his wrath upon the Yirens, who were left without their patron. He turned the Yirens into brutal monsters very similar in appearance to Raykar, and cursed them, imprisoning them in the one place where Garg had once created them. Jargus forbade them to leave his domain. Over the years, the Yirens became animals no longer sentient, and after the death of Guag and the rise of Jargus to power, our world was filled with grief and sadness, and eventually Jargus fell asleep. Eternally winter followed his slumber. When Lawrence finished his story, there was a brief silence. I was a little shocked by what I just heard. Although there were beliefs and legends on my planet too, but they were never so violent and bloodthirsty. It's all very cruel. Yep, but it's just a myth that never happened. The Protogen that visited us told me about the real history of our planet. Wait, so you know about the catalysm? Yeah. Perhaps I'm the only one who knows it, except for our elders. Well, yeah, because like they had to make a story about what happened. They can't tell like, oh, they already had a well-developed society that doomed themselves because they couldn't agree with each other. Well then we have one less problem to worry about. By the way, I actually really like that story. But why didn't heaven protect Guag if he was so kind and good? Why did they let Raykar kill him? Lance shrugged. According to our beliefs, heaven could not interfere with the lives of spirits. They are only an observer, looking down on our lives. Did you believe in these legends before you found the truth? Lance grinned and shook his head. Of course not. They were all just fairy tales for children. But as a child, I really liked listening to them. It was interesting to understand how everything works. And such explanations were all my parents could give me. When they told me that in the time of this legend, the whole planet was covered with thick forests and there was no snow, I didn't believe it. I couldn't imagine such a thing. And my parents didn't understand what it was either. They only retold what they heard from their parents and those from their parents, and so from generation to generation. So your mythology has some truth in it. Yeah, but it's still far from the actual truth. Lance turned on me to ask me with a smile, is it the same on your planet? He waved his hand referring to the snow around us, crunching under our feet. No, it's different from my planet. We had snow too, but only once a year. My village was surrounded by a dense forest that were different animals. There was a lot of greenery, different plants, berries, and mushrooms. Wow, mushrooms! We also have mushrooms growing on trees. We grow them ourselves. We heat the trees with fire so the mushrooms could survive and collect them twice a year. So, did they just grow in the forest on your planet? Yes, you could go and collect a whole basket. They were growing near trees, on trees, and even in open fields. Lance looked at me with a disgusted delight, his eyes beaming at what he heard. I would love to see everything you mentioned at least once in my life. Though, to be fair, I saw it, but not with my own eyes. The Protogen who visited our planet showed me a colorful pictures from other planets, and there were those forests and greenery you mentioned. Just an incredible sight. A sight that we can only dream of here. Lance sighed and headed further into the snow toward our goal. Juno and I looked at each other but said nothing as we followed him. We walked in silence for a few minutes, listening only to the crunch of snow beneath our feet, until Lance stopped and turned to us. Can I ask you a favor? Juno and I looked at him puzzled, stopping in the middle of the woods. We nodded, interested in what he had to ask. When you find that artifact and fly back into space, can you take me with you? Such a request stumped Juno and me. We were stunned, staring at Lance with our eyes wide open. With us? Into space? Yes, I won't get in your way. The Protogen was telling me about space stations where you can find companions and travel the universe. I want to get to the station like that, but I'll never be able to do it unless you help me. Please, it won't cost you anything. I won't cause any problems. Just a silent companion who traveled with you for a little while. Juno and I were silent as we considered Lance's request, who looked at us with hope in his eyes. I hadn't expected him to ask for something like that at all, but after being on this planet for even a few days, I could see why some people were so desperate to get out of here. Juno, after a few long seconds of silence, finally asked, are you sure this is what you want? You realize there's a chance that you would never be able to return here, right? Lance pressed his lips together, his face contradictory emotions of longing, humility, and determination. He sighed and nodded. I've been thinking about this for a long time, ever since that Protogen flew away. I don't think this is the life I want for me here. I never even gotten beyond these woods, never seen anything. And what is there to see on this planet? There's nothing but snow everywhere. Ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of living here, of traveling, and when that Protogen arrived and told me that there were other planets, other civilizations, I felt like this was my chance to find a new life, away from here. I would give anything to see the dense forest of another planet, to see how other creatures live there. And even if it means I have to say goodbye to this planet forever, so be it. I could hear in Lance's voice that something was holding him back. He didn't want to talk about it. Watching him, I couldn't help remembering how I left my village, myself, only to return later to the ruins. Lance, you don't really need it. We'll help you if you're really ready for it. If you don't change your mind until then, we'll take you on a ship and drop you off at the nearest station, okay? I glanced at Juno, wanting for some reason to stand up and object, to convince her it was a bad idea, but I kept my lips pressed together. When Lance heard her answer, he said happily, Of course, I won't bother you at all. You have my word. You have no idea how important this is to me. You will completely change my life, thank you. I stayed silent again, clenching my jaw, trying to not say too much. Lance's desire was understandable, but still, something inside me was rising up to my throat, wanting to burst out. It seemed like an extremely bad idea. But Juno didn't think so, apparently. Let's find the device first. Lance immediately nodded and smiled. Sure, come on, we're almost there. We're already passed by most of the dangers, so we're less than halfway there. Come, quickly. With great enthusiasm, Lance set off ahead, almost skipping in the snow. We continued on our way, chatting casually as we approached our destination. Oh, shoot, I read too far. I didn't realize. Yeah, I read too far. So I was supposed to stop 12 minutes ago. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's literally it. That's the beach series. That's the beach episode. So basically after this it gets really interesting. It's been a while. I do apologize. Work and other games that caught me my interest was mainly the part of it. Mainly work and mainly other games. So expect this series to be finished because the third game has still not been come out. So maybe this will be my main priority to finish since it's been almost a year. I think it's been a year in a few months after I even recorded this. So yeah, expect more parts to be actually coming.